for his first speech. The member for Leigh.
Thank you, Speaker. There are few moments in life as significant as this. A moment far removed from when I first sat in this chamber more than 20 years ago as a youth parliamentarian. I sat just there in the spot usually occupied by the Minister for Police. Even then, it appears I understood the merit of sitting on the Treasury benches. To now stand in this place as the member for Leigh is the greatest honour of my life. It is something I do not take for granted, not for a second. On Saturday, 14 March, I stood at the Seaton Early Voting Centre with a stack of Labor How to Vote cards in hand and a bundle of nerves. Then my phone buzzed. A message from Kate Ellis, the former federal member for Adelaide and one of my earliest supporters. It read, "How exciting. People are voting for you right now." And she was right. It was exciting. But at that moment, what hit me wasn't excitement. It was the realisation that my name was on the ballot paper. Me. I was asking people to trust me, to elect me to the Parliament. Something I never thought was possible, especially for a kid like me. Researcher, author and storyteller Brené Brown writes, "Owning our story can be hard, but not nearly as difficult as spending our lives running from it. When we deny our stories, they define us. When we own our stories, we get to write a brave new ending." I have seldom accepted the idea that there is merit in my story, nor that it is worth sharing. But standing here today, I'm reminded of the power of storytelling, how we never know who is listening and who might just need to hear the story of a kid like me. So today, I choose to own my story, a story I share not because it will change the past, but in the hope it will change the future. Because stories shared here shape our future. And today, I choose to write a different ending to my own. Following my parents' marriage breakdown, my mother chose to leave. My dad, Graham, then a young man, suddenly found himself raising 2 children under the age of 3. With little support, he made a difficult decision. He decided to place my sister Melissa and I into foster care. He had no real way of knowing what the future would have in store for us, but he hoped it could give us the stability he knew he could not. In return, foster carers Tina and Graham opened up their hearts and their home to us, despite already having 5 daughters of their own. They welcomed us not as a burden, nor as strangers, but as family. Melissa was their daughter and I their son. And in doing so, they gave us something priceless, an ordinary childhood. And Speaker, what an extraordinary gift ordinary can be. In total, there were 8 of us as siblings. 4 sisters, Alison, Rachel, Liz and Rebecca, who were several years older, and another sister, Jane, who was 4 months younger than me. Later on, another kid placed in foster care came to live with us, Scott. I've often felt the need to carry a whiteboard around simply so I can explain the family dynamics. As my older sisters built families of their own, I grew up surrounded by nieces and nephews, witnessing their infancy, toddler years and childhood. Looking back, it's a big part of the reason why I think I have a natural affinity with babies and children. You'll often find me at the party wanting to cuddle the newborn. Much of my childhood was spent with Jane, Scott and Melissa. Growing up alongside siblings that were all close in age meant we tended to do most things together, and joyful chaos often ensued. We'd walk to the grounds of the local primary school, only a street away, and invent endless activities. We'd create our own Olympics, complete with made-up events and medal presentations. Or we'd set up cricket matches, which usually ended with someone chasing the other around, threatening to hit them with the cricket bat. Whatever it was, we did it together, or at least until the activity abruptly ended because someone decided they were going home to dob on another. It felt ordinary. It wasn't until much later in life, and after I had left foster care, that I began to understand our experience was not the norm, it was the exception. We were fortunate in two ways. First, Melissa and I were placed together. Of course, at the time, typical sibling bickering and squabbling overshadowed the significance of staying together. And second, we remained in one stable placement throughout our childhood. It meant a sense of normality was woven through the everyday rhythms of family life. There was no special treatment. All living under one roof, all treated the same, and all held to the same standards. Nothing more and nothing less. All of this provided us with structure, boundaries, and a foundation that allowed us to thrive. Growing up, Tina and Graham instilled in me the values of hard work, fairness, and doing what is right, not just what is easy. In particular, they epitomised the notion of making a contribution to the world around us. And they made it clear to me that if one had the talent and capability, it should be utilised to its fullest potential. It meant I developed an early drive to strive for excellence and to work hard at completing my education. That drive for excellence quickly became perfectionism, best captured by my Year 10 Indonesian teacher, Mr. Tippins, who wrote, "Your score is perfect, your work is perfect, your behaviour is perfect, perfect David." It also meant I formed greater aspirations for myself. Early in my high school years, I had decided I wanted to become a lawyer. Somehow I'd come to believe the notion that a person who was academically gifted went on to become either a doctor or a lawyer. Well, I've never found the sight of blood particularly appealing, so the law became my aspiration. At the time, I hadn't realised just how unlikely it was for a student like me, attending Christie's Beach High, to pursue tertiary education, let alone receive an offer to study law. But I was fortunate enough to earn a place at law school at the University of Adelaide in 2005. It was also the beginning of my involvement in politics, a journey that has now spanned more than 2 decades. A pathway that has resulted in me standing in this place with the honour of representing the people of Leigh. An honour I know wouldn't have been possible without the love, care and commitment from those who opened their lives to me. Tina and Graham, you cared for Melissa and I like your own. You supported us, you shaped us, and you gave us the positive discipline to thrive. I would not be standing here without you, not even close. Dad, I have no doubt the decision to place us in foster care has caused you great anguish over the years. I stand here today and tell you, your decision to give us the stable and secure environment you felt you could not was one of the best decisions you ever made. Looking back, I now understand just how much that stability shaped the course of my life. And the significance of this moment is not lost on me. I grew up under laws debated in this chamber. And to now stand here as a Member of Parliament entrusted with shaping those laws is profoundly significant to me. But my experience also taught me another truth about our child protection system, a system which exists to protect children, where a single failure can carry lifelong consequences. For too long, I've carried a deep sense of shame. For too long, I've borne the invisible scars of an experience that has had a profound and lasting impact on who I am and how I move through the world. That ends today. Today I stand in this place and say publicly, I am a victim survivor of child sexual abuse. Abuse which occurred during my teenage years while in a respite placement at the hands of a carer entrusted with my safety. The abuse was not a single moment. It occurred over time, shaped by grooming that builds trust, creates confusion and blurs boundaries in ways a young person often struggles to understand. At the time, I knew something was not right. But like many young people in that position, I did not speak up. I did not want to disrupt relationships or cause any trouble. And yet the abuse only came to light as a result of mandatory reporting laws passed by this Parliament. A disclosure made by a close friend to a teacher triggered a chain of events that led to a police investigation and subsequent court proceedings. Had the disclosure not occurred, I suspect that abuse may have continued and may never have been reported. I have reflected deeply on what followed. A lengthy legal process which ultimately did not deliver the outcome that I and others had hoped for. In the years since, I've found myself returning to that experience more often than I would like to admit. Grappling with the concept that a jury determined the evidence of my experience was not sufficient to meet the standard of proof beyond reasonable doubt. Sitting in the witness box, replaying my evidence, whether I should have remembered more, explained things differently, been more composed in giving my evidence, carrying the quiet weight of the question, if I had done better, would the outcome have been different? Ultimately, there are only two people in this world who know exactly what happened. And yet, like many who go through such processes, I was left feeling that neither my voice nor the impact of my experience was fully heard. The subsequent public commentary only deepened that feeling. That experience does not end when court proceedings conclude. It lingers. And it shapes how you see trust, others, and yourself. I share this because it matters. Because no child should ever experience a breach of trust by someone placed in a position of care. And when the state assumes responsibility for the protection of a child, that responsibility must extend to every setting, every placement, and every person entrusted with their safety. I hope sharing this experience contributes in some way to improving how victim survivors are supported through court proceedings. And I hope that someone listening, someone carrying their own experience in silence, might find the strength to speak up and know they deserve to be heard. Because silence carries its own cost. And after so many years, I am no longer willing to carry this story in silence. I cannot change what happened, but I can choose what it means. I can choose to ensure that what I experienced contributes to something better for the child who comes after me. And in this place, that is exactly what I intend to do. But that responsibility does not sit with me alone, because the consequences of getting it wrong are not abstract. They are lived, often for a lifetime. I know that because I've lived it. Speaker, I know what it is to feel powerless and to believe parts of yourself must be hidden to be safe or accepted. That is why standing here today carries such deep personal significance. Because the same journey that taught me to speak up also taught me to live openly and honestly. I hope others might see their voice, their story, and their place in our democracy matter too. For much of my early life, I did not have the language for who I am. Growing up, I understood the world in very simple terms, shaped by what I saw around me. It wasn't until the transition from primary school to high school that I first began to understand that I might be different. I remember in year 8, a classmate asked me if I liked Mars bars. But I didn't understand the inference being made, or that it was intended as a joke about me. It wasn't until much later that I understood. Looking back, I think that moment marked something more significant than I realised at the time. Others had already started to form ideas about who I was before I had even begun to understand it myself. From there, adolescence became a period of torment, confusion, and shame. I didn't have a framework to understand my sexuality. I couldn't see anyone around me who felt like me. But I learned very quickly that being different was not a good thing. It was something to be suppressed, not expressed. So I internalised it. I learned to monitor myself, constantly scanning myself through the eyes of others. For a long time, I tried desperately to do anything I could to convince others and myself that I wasn't gay. I even attempted to persuade my best friend to be my girlfriend as a way of deflecting attention and ridicule. Thankfully, she had the foresight to politely decline. But no matter how hard I tried to control it or suppress it, it never really went away. Instead, what should have been a natural process of self-discovery became something far more complicated, far more confusing, and far more damaging. At a time when I was already grappling with my sense of identity, belonging, and sexuality, I found myself subjected to sexual abuse. That experience distorted my understanding. It shaped how I associated intimacy, trust, and safety. And it left me carrying more questions than answers. It wasn't until university that something shifted. I had reached a point where I was simply tired. Tired of pretending, tired of denying something that wasn't going away, and so slowly I stopped fighting it. not in a single moment of clarity, but in a gradual acceptance that this was part of who I am. Despite this, a sense of ease has never fully arrived, because I've not managed to fully shake the lingering fear of judgment and shame. Even now, I still find myself monitoring my behaviour and how I present myself in the world. There are days I feel comfortable in who I am, and there are days I do not. Days where I've not felt worthy, not worthy of love, not worthy of connection. And Speaker, that is why this moment matters. It's why representation in this place matters. Not as symbolism, but as visibility. Last year, South Australia marked 50 years since the decriminalisation of homosexuality. A moment that reminds us how recently the law treated people like me as criminals. To be elected to this place as an openly gay man is significant. Not because of who I am, but because of what it says about who we are. But it also reminds us that visibility alone is not enough. Because there are still young people who are sitting where I once sat, trying to make sense of who they are, while quietly carrying fear, shame, or uncertainty. And if there is any responsibility that comes with this moment, it is to make one thing clear to those young people. You are worthy, you are loved, you matter. So this is personal, but it is also a responsibility I carry into this place. The people I now have the privilege to represent carry their own stories. Stories of working hard to build a life, to raise a family, to leave something better for the next generation. In our western suburbs, there is a strong sense of community, a quiet pride, a belief that everyone should have the chance to get ahead without leaving others behind. And during the campaign, people spoke to me about what matters most to them. Safer streets, better local amenities, more trees, more green spaces, access to healthcare when you need it. Not grand statements, but practical things that shape everyday life. And at the heart of it was a simple expectation: to be heard. Because too many people feel that politics happens somewhere else, that their voice doesn't matter, that their vote makes no difference. I understand that frustration. There have been times I haven't had a voice. Worse still, I have spoken up and not been heard. But I refuse to accept that disengagement is the answer. So I share my story today, and I commit to the people of Leigh to carry theirs. Because I have seen what happens when voices are heard, when stories help government get it right. And I have lived what happens when they do not. So as the member for Leigh, my role is not to come here with all the answers. It is to listen, to understand, and to reflect this community back into this place, so that decisions here are grounded in the lived realities of the people we serve. I want people to feel that when they come to their local Member of Parliament, they are heard, that their experience matters, and that someone is prepared to stand alongside them and create change together. Because if my life has taught me anything, it is this: systems matter. Decisions matter. And when people fall through the cracks, the consequences are real. So I will use my voice for this community, for those who are overlooked, and for those too often not heard. And I will strive to do what is right, not just what is easy, because that is what this role demands. And that is what the people of Leigh deserve from me. But none of us arrive in this Parliament alone. Every person elected to this place carries the support, sacrifice and belief of others. And there are many people I need to thank for helping make this moment possible. First and foremost, to the people of Leigh, thank you. Thank you for placing your trust in me to serve as your representative in this Parliament. It is and always will be the greatest privilege of my life to serve others. I'm deeply humbled and incredibly grateful. To the mighty Australian Labor Party, thank you. For more than 2 decades, I have stood alongside you, committed to the values of fairness and opportunity. I am proud to continue that work in this place. To the SDA, Secretary Josh Peake and Assistant Secretary Jordan Mumford, thank you for your support and the opportunity to serve. Thank you also to our other union partners, the TWU, the AWU, the FSU and the HSU. Thank you for fighting every day for working people and delivering real change. We are stronger because of your members and the values you bring to our movement. To the former member for Leigh, Stephen Mulligan, you employed me not once but twice during your time in this place. Throughout your time, I've been struck with your intellect, your decency, and your commitment to our values. Thank you for your service to our community, our party, and our state. I wish you, Antonia, Ben, Isaac, and Olivia, all the very best for your next chapter of life. To Team West, the member for Colton, the member for Port Adelaide, and when we remember to include you, the Minister for Infrastructure and Transport, thank you for your friendship, camaraderie and good humour throughout this campaign, even when that good humour was often at my expense. To the Minister for State Development, thank you for recruiting me back to government and for the opportunity to serve as your Chief of Staff, although we both know the real credit for that decision belongs to Connie. I was deeply reluctant to take on this role, not because I doubted your leadership, but because I knew the work mattered. When I left your office to embark on the campaign, you wrote, "Your life is the basis for better representation, better decision-making, and better focus on the things that matter." I've reflected on those words often, and especially today. Thank you. To the member for Newland, you are one of my most enthusiastic supporters. I am so lucky to call you a friend and feel immense pride in joining you in this place. Not just for the adult version of us, but the child version of us too. Thank you. To Hannah Evans, I can't quite recall when our friendship began, but it's difficult to imagine life without you. When I asked you to run this campaign and stand beside me, you didn't hesitate. And on the days I was doubting myself, you never once let me doubt that this was possible. Thank you. To Amy Ware, On election day, we calculated we've worked on 14 election campaigns together across local, state and federal. Thank you for being by my side, always. To my campaign team, particularly Dylan Ainsbury, our sub-branch members and the many volunteers and supporters who gave their time and energy, thank you. This simply would not have been possible without you. To the auspicious group known by the name of our chat thread, the Optimum Flogs. Andrew Anson, Ben Rillo, Hannah McLeod, Priya Brown, John O'Schomberg, Tess Farrell. Your love and friendship means more to me than I can ever adequately describe. Thank you. Especially after we lost the captain of our team, Tim Picton. Tim was an early and enthusiastic supporter of my decision to seek pre-selection. He believed deeply in the work of this place and in the idea that it should matter. Tim's last text message to me read, "FYI, I'll come and spend election week with you." I replied, "FYI, I love you." Tim, I know you would be beaming with pride to see me stand in this place. I only wish you were here to see it. I extend my deep condolences to Tim's loved ones, his parents, Michael and Fiona, his brother, the Minister for State Development, his sister Jo, his beloved wife Priya, and his beautiful daughter Charlotte. Tim, we miss you, mate. As I stand here today, I do so with deep humility and an understanding of what it has taken to get here. Not just for me, but for so many people who feel their stories are defined by circumstance, by systems, or by moments they did not choose. I cannot change where my story began, but I can choose what I do with it. And if there is one thing I hope to contribute in my time here, it is this: that where we start should not determine where we finish. So I take my place in this Parliament ready to serve, ready to stand alongside those who need it, ready to fight for this community, and ready to help build something better for the people I am so proud to represent. Thank you.